So welcome to the Philbrook Football Podcast. This is a podcast for week 15. I'm joined by Isaiah, as always.
The actual host of the podcast, me, Isaiah, yes.
Yeah. So without further ado, I'll get started on the scores from last week. We'll run through those real quick.
Take it away, Doofus McGoofus.
On Thursday night, the Falcons were able to come back and win despite Matt Ryan and won 20-17 against the Saints, who lost Alvin Kamara. And let's see, Monday games. Jaguars won against the Seahawks, 30-24. Colts played at the Bills. They lost 7-13. The Vikings, in blizzard conditions. Sean McCoy has like 300 plus yards in snow games now. It's ridiculous.
Yep, he's a beast in the snow. He
was an abominable snowman in his past life. Anyways, Panthers played at home against the Vikings. They won 31-24. The Bears smashed the Bengals 33-7. The Packers were able to come back and win against the Browns 27-21. 49ers starting to look pretty good with Garoppolo in at quarterback, won 26-16 against the Texans. Chiefs got back on track against the Raiders and won 26-15. The Lions beat the lowly Bucks 24-21. Cowboys beat the Giants and Eli Manning's return 30-10. The Titans struggled on offense against the Cardinals and lost 7-12. The Jets lost Josh McCown against the Broncos and got shut out completely. They lost 23-0 because Bryce Petty is terrible. Chargers, excuse me. I got a weird tongue twist there. Mm-hmm. The Redskins played at the Chargers and lost 13-30. The Eagles played against the Rams and won 43-35. Their season's kind of screwed now, though, without Carson Wentz. The Ravens just came short against the Steelers, 39-38. And then on Monday Night Football, in primetime, the Patriots rolled into Miami and lost 20-27 somehow. Dude, I swear every time the Dolphins win, I say somehow.
Yeah, well, when you have Jay Cutler at quarterback, it's like somehow they won.
I swear they're like the most average team in the NFL right now. Like, I nothing that they do ever stands out to me, but they somehow are winning here and there.
Well, this is exactly, they do the opposite of what I was talking about when we were watching the Broncos and Colts game a little bit ago. Like, when you have a bad quarterback, you do not call shot plays and plays to chuck it down the field because he's either A, not going to make a good decision, B, have terrible accuracy, or C, have both of those things. So when you're the Broncos and you have Brock Osweiler and you're calling deep shots, why? Why are you doing that? But again, with the Dolphins, they have Jay Cutler at quarterback. Dude like came out of retirement to just like, you know, mess around for a season. Like,
well, he came back because they were like, we'll pay you $10 million this year. And he was like, oh, $10 million, play 1 year. That sounds all right. I can do that.
Right. So like he's just like doing that because like he can earn some money, but like he's not Rodgers, he's not Brady, like he's Jay Cutler, and he decided like, all right, well, hold on now, we're playing against the Patriots, so I'm gonna like try in this game and like
show everybody I still got it.
Show everybody like, right. Yeah, I'm Jay Cutler though. Like, I can beat the good teams, right? Jay Cutler, I guess.
Yeah, I mean he's not like a terrible quarterback by any means.
No.
He's not like that bad. Of course, like I mean he's starting for a team this year. But yeah, he's definitely no world beater. So I just can't believe that the Patriots dropped this game. They had a whole extra day to prepare and still came up short against a team that's been struggling to find any consistency all year, whereas the Patriots have been pretty much nothing but consistency except on defense, which they've improved all year. So
yeah, more or less. it doesn't surprise me that the Patriots dropped it, just because, I mean, they can't win every game. You know, like, they're going to lose some eventually, you know, especially with a defense that, like, is better than it was at the beginning of the year, but it's still not great.
Yeah, they still don't have any, like, pass rush.
They have no pass rush. The run defense is pretty bad, and that's just how it is. Like, they're going to lose games eventually. Tom Brady's going to have an off night, and he did, and they lost. Like, and but the takeaway I had was, even though Tom had an off night, they still only lost by 7.
Well, yeah.
Like, they lost by 1 score. So really, there's not a huge takeaway from it, other than, yes, the Dolphins are not the worst team in the NFL, but the Patriots are not bad. Patriots are going to be fine.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Patriots are going to be fine. And it's good to have a loss here and there to kind of refocus your team when you're an elite team like that. But it's all about how you respond. I mean, not to really, like, bring any, I don't want to get any, like, controversial or anything, but I mean, look at how the Seahawks players reacted when they lost compared to the Patriots players losing. I mean, you got to see how your team responds to adversity like that. I'm sure that the Patriots felt just as confident going into that game against the Dolphins as the Seahawks did going in against the Jags.
Probably even more so going against the Dolphins.
I don't know. I'd say it's probably about even, because I don't think Belichick lets them really, like, underestimate an opponent.
Sure.
I don't think Pete Carroll does either, but I think because he lets them be themselves, I think they just were confident that they were going to beat on the Jags, and that was going to be that. But we'll see how the teams respond to these losses, because those were two kind of wild losses. Those are really, like, the biggest weird losses of this year, and it really wasn't even the way they lost. It was, I guess it was more like the way everything happened than it was how surprising it was. Because, I mean, the Jags and Seahawks win in this game having the same record.
Right. It wasn't really surprising that Jacksonville won based on just matchups alone.
Yeah. I was more surprised at how they responded to losing against them. That kind of bugged me.
I mean, we're not going to go into, like, detail. It was really just an ugly ending. I was sitting there at the end like, okay, just come on. Just end it. It's done. Please just end the game already. Like, this is going on longer than it needs to. And, you know, the one credit you have to give is, like, even in victory formation, Seattle was still trying. You know, they're still, like, fighting, but, like, at that point in a regular season game, just stop. Like, it's not helping. You've lost. Just take the loss and move on to next week, because now, like,
now they're looking at having players suspended.
Right.
They're looking at, I mean, it just looks bad.
Right.
And it's, you know, players are going to get fined, I'm sure. And it's, it was just not good. I don't really want to get into that. Not because, like, I'm butthurt about it or anything, but just because it is what it is. It looked really bad on Seattle, and it was kind of, it was just embarrassing.
Yeah. And it's not to say that, you know, Jacksonville was completely off the hook as well. I mean, they, you know, their players probably not as much, even though they were, you know, I'm sure they were talking a lot of smack, but, like, really the fans, you know, throwing crap from the stands, like, that's uncalled for, and there's no place for that in sports either. So
no,
but, you know, the reactions to that, there's not really a place for that either. So it was all just, everything about that was ugly. And,
well, these guys are professionals.
Right.
You know, you're supposed to be able to have thick enough skin to take some comments from fans that, one, you're never going to see ever again.
Right.
You're never going to, you know, for a fact, they wouldn't talk to you like that to your face.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be throwing stuff in your face, but when you're surrounded by other fans of your own team, of course, you're cowardice goes away, and when you've had a couple beers or whatever, and I don't know. But those fans apparently have been sought out already and banned from the stadium, so that's good. But the Jacksonville players, I thought, did just fine. I'm sure they were talking smack, but you have to be mature enough not to give into that kind of stuff. But anyways, I was really only drawing the comparison because, the Patriots lost a game they shouldn't have, and they didn't respond by, making themselves look childish. So we'll see how it goes for both teams, but I'm sure the Patriots are going to do just fine bouncing back. I don't know who they're playing next week off the top of my head, but
Steelers.
Oh, that's right. They're playing the Steelers. So this loss was probably good for them to get them focused. I'm sure they're going to see some things that they did wrong and make those adjustments, take some stuff out, maybe adjust how they want to go about this. I guess they just signed Kenny Britt. I don't know I'm sure you saw that. The Patriots just signed Kenny Britt to a 2-year contract. I don't know why 2 years, but probably just so if somehow he ends up being good and not locker room cancer, they can keep him. But I guess they're going to throw everything they got at him this week to try to get him up to speed, and hopefully he can make an impact for them. I'm sure they're not going to have him out there, but just for a couple plays and maybe just a couple different routes here and there.
How many receivers can you pick up before it's okay, we're good?
Well, they had 4 receivers on roster or something. They didn't. I think this just kind of reinforces that Mitchell won't be coming back.
Sure. Yeah.
I think this was more insurance for that, because he's been kind of questionable to return to the team for the past couple of weeks. They've been evaluating whether they want to bring him back. And I think this is just kind of a sign that no, he's going to stay on IR and he's not going to come back, and he won't be an impact this season.
Right.
Unless, barring a miracle of healing or something.
Sure.
I don't know. But yeah, I think that's more what this is, just so they can have some depth as they get into the final stretch of the season. Because, they can't just win with just Brandon Cooks and Gronkowski.
Right.
They can't just, they can't do that. So, anyways, so that was kind of surprising. But we'll get into kind of the meat of what else is happening. Starting with some quarterback news.
Yes, lots of quarterback news.
Oh yeah, lots of quarterback stuff going on right now. Obviously the biggest storyline right now is that Carson Wentz tore his ACL and is going to be out for the remainder of this year and probably a couple games next year as well.
That wouldn't be surprising.
Especially just how late in the season it happened. Right. So he's going to be replaced by Nick Foles, who had the infamous 27-2 touchdown to interception ratio year in Chip Kelly's system when it was taking the league by storm.
Yep. Pro Bowl MVP and everything.
Oh, yeah.
7 touchdown game, tying Peyton Manning, all that stuff.
Yeah, and then went to Jeff Fisher, and Jeff Fisher ruined him like he does with every quarterback he gets.
Yep.
It really is crazy how many talented quarterbacks he's had that have just been complete garbage in his system. Bradford, the most talented of all of them. He made Jeff Fisher's system look decent when he was in the game. And then look how he's played in other systems. When he was playing with Chip Kelly, he looked just fine. It was really, he was just plagued by his receivers, literally having bricks for hands, and Jordan Matthews couldn't catch anything. Nelson Aguilar couldn't catch anything.
Yeah, he was finally healthy and nobody could catch anything there. And then he went to Minnesota and
then their offensive line was terrible. And but even with that, given what he had to deal with last year, coming in, learning a new playbook immediately, and still setting the record for completion percentage in a season. That says something about what kind of talent he has. And then he looked great the one game he played this year.
Right.
And it was looking like he was going to be just a force for them. And he gets injured because his knee is made of plastic or something now.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's been hurt so many times, it can't take much more of a beating. So
yeah, man,
it sucks for him.
It does suck for him. I feel like maybe I'm a little, I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say if he had stayed healthy, I think he could have been a top 10 quarterback this year.
Well, yeah.
I mean, if he just didn't have so much injury history, he would be. I think he could have been a top 10 quarterback in the league just on a yearly basis.
Yeah, he had all the talent in the world and still has talent. It's just his health. It's just like Brandon Roy for the Blazers in the NBA. Brandon Roy was pretty much set to be one of the top shooting guards for the next 10 years when he came in the league. I mean, he came in the league, won Rookie of the Year, and then was taking over, put up a 52-point game on the Suns. He was just dominating, but his knees just couldn't handle it.
Yep.
And he just couldn't stay healthy, and had this kind of one last hurrah against the Mavericks in 2011, and that was basically it. Played another season for the Timberwolves a year later and didn't even play the whole season. So this immense talent of a player, you're always kind of wondering what could be. And that's kind of the Bradford situation of, what could have been with Sam Bradford had he been able to be healthy.
Dude, that dude has millions and millions of dollars because, I mean, he was there before the CBA went into effect. So first round picks were getting $50 million contracts,
Right.
So the dude has so much money. I just want to see one of these players invest into bionic technology and replace their leg with a artificial leg, and then they wouldn't have to worry about knee injuries and stuff. They could just go out and play on a prosthetic leg or a mechanical leg and not have to worry about getting injured and stuff. I mean, when is this going to happen?
Okay, but when you think about prosthetics, you get tackled in your prosthetic leg, that's going to break.
Well, I mean, obviously it wouldn't be a prosthetic that normal casual people get, but a millionaire NFL player with access to the most innovative advances in technology, dude, I'm sure that there's someone out there that is working on prototypes for that kind of thing.
I'm sure. It wouldn't surprise me, but yeah, right now
Bradford would be a perfect candidate. He's got all the arm talent in the world. If he could just play from a wheelchair and not get tackled, then he'd be fine.
From an upright wheelchair.
Yeah, I mean,
he didn't have to use his legs.
Exactly. If he was just getting if he just had flags, if he was playing flag football,
he just had Dallas's O-line.
Yeah, if he had a beastly O-line, and he would be amazing, of course. But yeah, we were talking about Carson Wentz, so he gets injured. We're talking about Nick Foles, Jeff Fisher. I was trying to remember. I was processing back how we got to Sam Bradford. Yeah. So anyways, Nick Foles comes in, and we really don't know how he's going to perform in this system. However, it is a pretty quarterback friendly system. It seems like it relies on a lot of guys, luckily routes working together to get guys open, stuff like that. Stuff that similar elements to what Chip Kelly had. And they've even said that they've retained some of the offensive schemes that he's brought in.
And they've similar to maybe the stuff he was doing in Arizona too. So,
right. A lot of stuff that's going on with the Chiefs. Obviously, Doug Peterson is a disciple of Andy Reid, coming from that coaching tree. So they have similar play styles and game calls and stuff like that. So I think Nick Foles will fill in just fine. I think he's one of the better backups in the league for sure.
Oh yeah.
It wouldn't be too out of the realm of possibility that he could perform kind of closely to what Case Keenum is doing, where obviously Foles is not as athletic. You can't like move around the pocket the same way that Keenum can, just because he's like this massive dude.
Yeah, Nick Foles is pretty
like 6'7" or
he's
something.
a tall
like that.
guy.
So he's not going to be able to bring that to the table. But I mean, as far as like keeping the team afloat and helping them win games, like they should be all right. I think they could still be. I said earlier that their season is over, but it's not out of the possibility that he could play just fine for them and continue to help them win games.
Yeah, it's what I was saying before the podcast was, similar to this situation with the Vikings. Case Keenum and Nick Foles could bring their respective teams to the Super Bowl, but when it comes down to actually winning the Super Bowl against either probably the Steelers or Patriots, it's really hard to see either of those quarterbacks in that environment and in that situation outperforming two guys that are multiple times Super Bowl champions,
Right.
Like, that's just hard to see. But you never know. I mean, Case Keenum has been playing well, and he showed he's human with the loss this last weekend. Like, he is human. He's not just this, like, all of a sudden Aaron Rodgers guy. Like, he still has Case Keenum elements
Right.
to his game. But, like, he's showing that he's a very capable quarterback and, can certainly keep his team in it in every game.
Yeah, he's shown a lot of improvement, which is something good that you want to see out of young quarterbacks. And I mean, I think you're right. So, but what if the Vikings do go to the Super Bowl and win it with Case Keenum? What if they get there, Case Keenum puts on a good performance, isn't a liability in the Super Bowl, and helps them win that game? What are the Vikings supposed to do? Do you think that they try to extend Keenum long term, or do you think
they franchise tag him? See if he can do it for another year.
But what do they do with Teddy Bridgewater?
They keep him. Let him battle it out. That gives Teddy competition, and that vice versa gives Case Keenum competition.
I was under the impression that this would be the last, or this is the last year of Bridgewater's contract.
From what I understand, the Vikings want Bridgewater as the quarterback. Like, that's their intention with him. But like you're saying, if Keenum brings them to the Super Bowl and they win the Super Bowl, things change. And all of a sudden you say, okay, well, now we have this guy that just won us a Super Bowl and led us to, whatever they're going to finish with.
Well, yeah.
Their best record since like 2009 or whatever. Like,
and the Vikings have never won the Super Bowl, so that would be huge for them.
Right. So in that sense, if they win it, Case Keenum has some interesting choices where he can either re-sign with the Vikings or take his talents elsewhere. Like,
the Browns.
No.
Hopefully not. Well, yeah, because it's a tough situation for the Vikings, because if they re-sign him and he does terrible or doesn't do as good as he is doing this year, then they're going to get chastised for not signing Bridgewater.
Right.
But if they let him walk in free agency, sign Bridgewater, Keenum balls out wherever he goes, and then Bridgewater looks average like he did.
Gets injured again.
The first couple, or gets injured again, then they'll get chastised for not extending Keenum. So it's kind of a bad problem, or it's kind of a good problem to have, because you could have a good quarterback either way, maybe, but it's also a bad problem to have because it's a huge gamble either way. There's no guarantee that Bridgewater will continue his development and be worth a contract that you're going to have to give him to keep him around, but there's also no guarantee that Keenum will perform to the level that he's playing right now in future seasons.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I think that ultimately it's going to come down to how far Case Keenum gets them in the playoffs. And if, they have a first round exit, then I think it's almost guaranteed that Bridgewater gets his shot and gets his job. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
You just don't think of Case Keenum as the long-term answer, based on his resume, That's
Right.
why this going to the Super Bowl and possibly winning it, that kind of storyline for this guy would really help bring his resume back to a point of, no, I am good. Like I can play.
He just needed to be in a system that would work, He's only been in systems that either don't work, like Jeff Fisher. And when he was with the Texans for a little while, and I'm pretty sure he was a rookie first off, because he signed with them, I think, as an undrafted free agent out of Houston, because nobody drafted him for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's like,
because he played in a terrible conference. He put up
but
tons
he
of
set insane records. You want to. Somebody freaking drafted Jimmy Garoppolo out of like a tiny little school somewhere in the second round, and yet they don't draft the guy who has like all these insane records and obvious. At least like you got to give a guy like that a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But Bill O'Brien's system is obviously a pretty complex system. The only quarterback so far that's actually succeeded in that is Deshaun Watson. The first few games that he played.
And really, how much of that is Bill O'Brien's system?
Exactly.
So much of that was Watson just creating stuff similar to like what Russell Wilson does. Like that's you kind of bailed him out, because Bill O'Brien's system really over the last couple of years, I mean, it's shown to be, it was very predictable. Part of that being the fact that you did kind of have to dumb it down because of the quarterback play.
Yeah.
But it also got to the point where it was so predictable that teams really only needed to study the film and say, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
You're not going to throw anything new at us. It's going to be all stuff we've seen already.
Well, that's what happens when you have the quarterbacks that he's had.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really have, none of the guys that he's had have been any good. Like Keenum is good now, but he wasn't that good his rookie year. He made some good plays for them, and the Texans fans wanted to keep him around because he showed promise. He showed that he could play at the NFL level, and that maybe he just needed some more molding, some more push in the right direction, some good coaching, which is what he's getting in Minnesota right now. But I mean, you want to see development out of your quarterbacks, and Keenum has shown development. He's shown that he can improve with proper coaching, and that's why I feel like if he plays well for them in the playoffs, I think that they're going to go with him. But if he pulls a Brian Hoyer and completely craps his pants in the playoffs, then there's no way that they re-sign him.
And he has done that before, granted with the Rams, but he's had a couple of games with the Rams that were just downright terrible. I remember one where he threw 4 picks.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, like this guy just cannot complete a ball to save his life. But, that's when you play for Jeff Fisher, that happens.
Yeah, I kind of want to, it'd be interesting to see what Vince Young's career would look like if he wasn't with Jeff Fisher when he played for Tennessee. Like, I guess Jeff Fisher didn't like Vince Young, and I'm sure he didn't really like try to develop him very much because he didn't want him. Yeah. And I mean, granted, Vince Young was definitely a dumbass, but I mean, at the same time, like whether or not he's a dumbass or not, you still got to try to like coach the guy the best you can. And Fisher is just not that guy. He's not the guy to develop a quarterback.
No,
he's never developed a quarterback worth anything in the league. So but yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But I'm rooting for Keenum just because it's always good to root for an underdog.
Yeah,
it makes you feel good if they win.
I want him to continue to be successful and see him like actually, be a great quarterback for more than a year. Like just be able to have a good rest of his career, because he really was overshadowed in college because of the fact that he played in such a whatever division. But he's proved himself in the NFL, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for him.
Yep.
Seeing how he does in the playoffs, because there's no way they're missing the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, I think they're locked in to the playoffs.
I think unless they lose every game the rest of the year, and then the Packers or Lions win every game the rest of their year, like that would be the only way. They would have to lose every game for the remainder schedule. So basically,
they're locked in.
Yeah,
essentially.
Like they'd have to lose to the Packers like next week. Not this next coming Sunday, which is tomorrow by the time you're hearing this, probably maybe 2 days from now. But like this isn't the big week for the Vikings. It's basically just, okay, knock off Aaron Rodgers, get him out of here a week from now, and just call it good. Then you're in the playoffs. You're fine. Because I'm not too worried about the Lions beating them out for that first spot in that whatever seed they get in the top 4. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, both the Packers and Lions are still 3 games behind
right.
the Vikings, and Minnesota still plays the Bengals this week, and then they play the Packers and Bears.
Right.
So luckily they get to avoid the Lions, because the Lions, they're obviously fighting for that spot. And the Bears, I'm sure, are going to want to play spoiler, but there's no way they're going to beat the Vikings. And the Bengals just got wasted on by the Bears.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're going to get wasted on by the Vikings. The big game is obviously the Packers versus the Vikings on the 23rd. And they will have Aaron Rodgers back. Aaron Rodgers is supposed to come back this week, actually.
Yeah. He's coming back against the Panthers.
So, unfortunately for the Panthers, I mean,
yeah.
But
that's fine with me.
yeah, I don't really care either. But it just sucks for the Panthers. I'm sure they're hoping to get Brett Hundley.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be a huge pivotal picture in the or pivotal game in the playoff picture for the Vikings. If they can hold off Aaron Rodgers and win that game, I mean, they could win these last 3 games for sure. Aaron Rodgers is obviously going to give them the biggest challenge they've had, but I think they'll do. I think they'll be able to win that game. Green Bay just does not have the defense capable of helping out Aaron Rodgers. It's akin to what the Saints have been doing the last few years with Drew Brees. The Packers are like the same way. It's like if they didn't have their quarterbacks, that their teams would be dumpster fires.
Yeah.
They'd be among the worst in the
Except
NFL.
for this year for the Saints, this year, the Saints with another quarterback would not be as good as they are, but they would still be okay, Well,
yeah. I mean, but now they have a defense that's at least serviceable. It's not like,
well, when healthy, they're like elite.
Yeah.
I mean, that defense was killing it before a couple of the injuries, and now they're getting healthy again. And I mean,
the Saints are definitely a scary team in the NFC.
Yeah.
They're with the, and I guess, I mean, they lost Kamara for that Thursday night game, but
he expects to be back this week.
Yeah,
so.
He's supposed to be back this week, which is great.
Yeah.
Great for them, because their running game is finally taking some pressure off Drew Brees. He doesn't have to throw for 5,000 yards every year and 40 touchdowns just to keep them above 500.
Yeah, give him quite possibly the best running back duo
of
maybe
all
ever,
time.
And
at least for this 1 year,
right?
It's definitely the best running back
for a
duo
single
of all
season.
time.
Yeah, no question.
So, I mean, yeah, they finally put the pieces they needed around Drew Brees to take them out of that like mediocrity, and just in time too, because if you've watched Saints games this year, Drew Brees is definitely not the Drew Brees of old.
No.
His arm is starting to fall off a little bit. Doesn't have quite the same zip on his deep balls as he used to, or anything like that. So this is their year. This is the year that the Saints have to make a push, and maybe next year, if they can really boost that defense even more, and if they can keep their running game the way it's been, I mean, their window is open this year and next year. But after next after next year, I think Drew Brees' talent is going to unfortunately fall off a little too much for them to really carry that team. I mean, it took the Broncos a historic defense to carry Peyton Manning and his noodle arm.
Yeah.
And Peyton Manning, I mean, you can argue however you want, but I mean, Peyton Manning is arguably a better quarterback than Drew Brees is.
Right.
And if it took that kind of defense to carry Peyton Manning, I mean, it's going to take something crazy to be able to carry Drew Brees through that. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch for sure with this future of the Saints, because thinking about the Saints without Drew Brees is just kind of, it's weird. Like, I've grown up knowing Drew Brees as a Saint. These quarterbacks, this old group of quarterbacks now with Roethlisberger and Brees and Rivers and Eli, all these guys I grew up, Brady. When I think of a team, I think of them. And even like a guy like Joe Flacco, like,
who's been around forever. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he's only been in the league since like 2008, I think 2007, maybe.
I don't remember.
Like he hasn't really been in the league that long, like compared to some of these other guys. But like, I think of Ravens, I think of Joe Flacco, even the Falcons, I think of Matt Ryan, like you grow up knowing these teams as their quarterback. And so thinking about, wow, this window is closing for Drew Brees. Like that's just crazy to think about.
It is crazy to think about considering the insane numbers he's been putting up. Like they missed out really bad by having terrible defenses and thinking that they could just skate along the year with Drew Brees having that team on his back or whatever. Like they missed out of the prime of his career.
Yep.
And it's sad because, man, that guy with a couple more rings would have been in the conversation for all-time best.
I mean, I'm glad he got one, but like he deserves so much more, man. Like,
oh yeah,
he's crazy talent, but
it is what it is. And, but the situation in Green Bay is kind of the same thing. The defenses for Green Bay have not been good the last few years.
Right. And
it this year, especially, the Green Bay's defense is terrible.
It's really bad.
I mean, they Dom Capers just doesn't know how to like develop talent or keep his talent around. I mean, look at Casey Hayward. He's like the #1 rated cornerback in the NFL right now for the Chargers. He was playing with the Packers and they didn't think he could play on the outside. That's why they let him go in free agency. They thought he was only a slot corner. Look at Micah Hyde playing with the Buffalo Bills. He's having a great year this year. They let him go in free agency last year. It's like, what are they doing? Why are they letting all these guys go? And then they can't like keep a defense together or keep one together long enough to develop it into something above average.
Yeah, well, that's the big problem is they don't have stars. Like when you look at the Packers roster, you don't see stars. You see Aaron Rodgers as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, right? I mean, he really is up there talent wise. Accomplishments not quite there, but like
he's still got a lot more years left too. It's not like he's only been around in the league for like 10, 12 years.
Yeah. So like he's got time to still really bring that his historic, ranking higher. But like when you look at the rest of that team, you have an aging Jordy Nelson. He's not a star anymore. He's a really good receiver, but he's not a star anymore. The rest of your receivers, Devontae Adams, will see he's really getting better and he's really showing that he can be a great receiver, but he's not quite a star yet.
I think he could be once Jordy's gone. Because right now, I mean, look at the numbers he's been putting up with Brett Hundley. Mm-hmm. And
Hundley has been literally forcing him the ball.
Well, yeah, because he can't place a freaking touch ball anywhere. That's why Jordy Nelson, I mean, look at last year, Jordy Nelson had the most touchdown receptions in the league and was like only a few yards back from like Antonio Brown and Julio Jones.
Right.
And with Aaron Rodgers, like, yeah, he's a star, but he's a guy who relies on accurate placement because he only gets a little bit of separation.
Yeah.
But that's all he needs.
Yeah. And I really don't want to say that Jordy Nelson's a bad receiver. Like he is a really good receiver, but you can see that without Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball, he's not the same player. And that's partly due to age, partly due to the fact that he like had a torn ACL. Like he's been through some stuff and he's getting older. And that happens to wide receivers. Like Jordy Nelson was a star and is still a really good receiver, but he's not at that elite level of like, I mean, looking at DeAndre Hopkins in Houston, like he is producing with a terrible slew of quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson gets hurt. He's still putting up over 100 yards a game. Like he is that good of a receiver. DeAndre Hopkins is a star in this league. Like imagine putting DeAndre Hopkins with Aaron Rodgers. Like that's, you saw what he did with a rookie in Deshaun Watson. Like you really have to consider what guys like this would do with quarterbacks as good as Aaron Rodgers, you know?
As much as I'd love to see Hopkins with Rodgers, I would love to see Will Fuller with Hopkins or with Aaron Rodgers.
That'd be interesting.
Because Aaron Rodgers has, not even arguably, he has the best deep ball in the league. And like, I would just love to see Will Fuller burning defenses every game. He's always getting open. The way he was performing with Deshaun Watson, whose biggest, knock on him coming out of college was he doesn't have, that much of a fastball. He's not like terribly accurate yet, blah, 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 all these things. And Will Fuller was just going nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers with the best placement of any ball and the most accurate quarterback ever.
Yeah, pretty much.
One of the strongest arms in the league, easily you seem to disagree with me about the deep ball, but dude, the guy is the most accurate quarterback ever.
Accuracy, his deep ball is really good. As far as like accuracy plus power, it's a little different because he can launch it. You've seen his Hail Marys, but Hail Marys aren't accuracy, dude. Like that's just
sometimes they are though, dude. It's ridiculous.
I don't know about that.
How about Randall Cobb in the back of the end zone, like over every defender?
It's cool and all. But like, a lot of that does have to do with luck, it's just them battling it out. But
I don't know what Andrew Luck has to do with this,
but all I'm saying is, as far as like that true accuracy and blend of power, absolutely. Like he has that.
That's what I'm saying. The best deep ball in the league. Of course, he's not. I'm sure Matthew Stafford can probably throw it further. I'm sure Jameis Winston can probably throw it further, but nobody throws it as well as Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I really do believe, and call me whatever you will, I do believe that Matt Ryan has a really good deep ball too. There's
a lot of guys with really good deep balls. I'm sure Matt Ryan is one of them. Russell Wilson's one of them.
Russell Wilson's is pretty.
Russell Wilson's is pretty because he's extremely accurate. And he can
launch it, and he launches it quick. He'll just do his little like
baseball wind up
and just
pitch thing,
launch it. But like, he's struggled a little bit with accuracy this year, and that's I think more on him because he's had a little bit more time to throw this year. So that's something for him to work on. But like,
he still has room to improve.
Yeah, but like, yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, as far as like best overall deep ball, he definitely has that.
Yeah. That's why I'd love to see Will Fuller, because his placement, he wouldn't even need that much separation, which he gets plenty of separation anyways because he's ridiculously fast. But I mean, it would just be great, man. I'd love to see that. But yeah, him with Hopkins too. I mean, any good receiver with Aaron Rodgers would be insane.
I more look at availability, and Hopkins stays healthy and Will Fuller doesn't. So that's why I'm like, put Hopkins with him, because Hopkins is always there to play,
I'd love to see freaking Julio Jones with Aaron Rodgers.
All right, well, that's like
okay, now we're just getting into fan fiction. But
yeah. I'd love to see Giannis Antetokounmpo team up with LeBron and whatever.
Yeah. Oh man, good times. But anyhow, yeah, I mean, the league's better with Aaron Rodgers playing. I mean,
yeah,
it's just, I mean, it's good to see,
especially come playoff time.
It's not like I like the Packers. I
No.
actually can't stand the Packers and don't want. This season's been awesome because it's like, yeah, see, they suck without Aaron Rodgers. Like he's literally carrying that team. But I mean, it's good for football to have the best quarterback,
Right.
especially in the hands down. He's the best quarterback in the modern era. I don't think that there's,
As far as true talent goes,
yes, true talent.
athleticism, everything included, yes. I mean, you can't, it depends on when you just consider what the modern era is, but Tom Brady is obviously the like,
Well, since the new passing rules came into play. So what was that, like 2003 or 2002 or something like that? Pretty much, I mean, so Brady was drafted what, 99?
I think 99.
99. He played his first few years. This was before they made rules where defensive backs had to pretty much tone it down with the contact.
Right.
And it allowed receivers to get more open, bigger plays down the field, stuff like that. And Aaron Rodgers has played his whole career in this new modern era of basically a passing league. And he's been absolutely the most talented quarterback.
Well, he's really kind of one of the reasons why it became a passing league, you know? Like he really kind of took that to another level, you know?
Well, yeah, because he's never had like a great running game to help him out.
No.
He's the 1 year that he did have a defense capable of anything, they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
And they would do it again if they could just get some freaking talent on defense, or keep some talent, or evaluate it better, or coach it better. But Dom Capers needs to be fired if they're gonna move forward with that defense. He's just bad. His schemes are outdated. Doesn't know how to develop any of his talent. I mean, pretty much every Packers defensive player that goes somewhere else plays better.
Yeah, I mean, I look at like their linebackers and I'm like, man, I'm waiting for one of these guys. I'm waiting for Blake Martinez to not get signed to another contract and go to like the Giants because they have terrible linebackers, and go there and start tearing it up. And it's like, yeah, that's what happens when you don't keep your talent around, like, and really do anything with them. Like,
yep. But we'll see how that playoff picture messes around in NFC North, because I mean, the Lions are right in there too.
Yep.
They just need to finish this year strong, and they could sneak into a wild card spot at least. But
yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the best. Like, I have mixed feelings about this season altogether, just because I really hate how many injuries there have been. I mean, it's been kind of a sucky season because of that. But as far as this playoff hunt goes, this is probably one of the most intense playoff hunts I've seen since I really started watching football. There are, at least in the NFC. AFC, I mean, the most intense thing is who will suck less in the AFC West, or
and which of these two teams will get the number one seed.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, I mean,
there's no one threatening for that one seed other than Steelers and Patriots.
Yeah. Like, unless they lose out, unless those two teams lose out and Tennessee wins out, that's the only way. Like, it's just, there's no real competition right now for seeding there. But with the NFC, I mean, there's still like, I think it's 8 teams that are still, let's see. The only team that's clinched is, I think, the Eagles. They've clinched a spot in the playoffs. I think every other team in the NFC that has like a winning record is still in the hunt.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I pulled up the playoff picture right now. So, yeah, AFC is Pittsburgh and New England at the top, and then Jacksonville is sitting at 9-4
Jacksonville, okay,
for the 3 seed. So they're only a game back from the Patriots, as crazy as that sounds.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, after that, it's Kansas City at the 4 right now at 7-6, Tennessee at the 5, 8-5, and Buffalo is slotted for the 6th spot at 7-6. I don't expect that to stay. I expect the Chargers to take that spot. But then you look at the NFC, and the worst team, or the last seed at number 6 right now, is Atlanta at 8-5. That team would be the number 4 seed in the
Right.
AFC. I mean, we have Philadelphia at 11-2, Minnesota at 10-3, and then the Rams, New Orleans, and Carolina are all at 9-4,
Yep.
and then Atlanta and Seattle at 8-5, and then you have Detroit, Green Bay, and Dallas all at 7-6. The difference is night and day.
Yeah. It's crazy.
While I think that Jacksonville could compete in the playoffs, or they have a chance to get to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's really just between the Steelers and New England. I mean, I don't see the Jags knocking either of those teams off. Maybe the Steelers, because they've shown to be vulnerable on defense, but
The Steelers, vulnerable on defense.
yes. I mean, the last couple weeks with all the injuries they've had,
Right. Yeah,
they're trending.
We're not saying that Jacksonville is weak on defense. That's a strong suit.
I may have said that wrong. Yeah, I meant that Pittsburgh has shown that the last couple of weeks they're trending downwards on defense.
Right.
Meanwhile, the Patriots are trending up. Slightly.
Yeah, it's not a lot, but they're getting better.
They're getting better, which is what you want. You want to get better down the stretch rather than worse, like the Steelers have been getting on defense.
Right.
So, Jacksonville definitely has a shot there, but none of the other teams I think have any shot. It's really those three teams in the AFC, and I don't think any of the other teams, unless Kansas City goes on a tear the rest of the year. I mean, their defense is just bad too, and Tennessee has looked god awful on offense because Marcus Mariota has been injured since the injury that knocked him out of the game.
It might say he's healthy, but he's not. That injury is still lingering, and it hasn't really been able to fully heal because he just keeps having to play. And
it's just like that season. Was it last season where it was last season when Russell Wilson was injured.
It's not quite as crazy as Russell Wilson's injuries, but it's still enough to warrant limited mobility, and it's
and it's not like Mariota is as talented as Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson can rely on his arm talent and still play good football.
Right.
Mariota without his legs is definitely not as good because he doesn't have as good of accuracy as Russell Wilson.
And he can't extend the plays as much.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's how he's made his living in Tennessee, is by, extending the plays, to get the wide open guys. He's great at getting guys that are wide open, but he still is not very good at forcing the ball into a tight window and still completing the pass. He might get there.
Yeah, he's still young. I mean, the dude's I think 24, 25 right now.
He's 24. He's my age.
So he's young. He's got plenty of time to really get things under control.
And he's making millions of dollars while I sit here working at Red Robin as a dishwasher.
Hell yeah.
I mean, he's also got 100 pounds on me, and maybe not 100, 60 pounds probably on me. Probably weighs a good 200 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's 70 pounds heavier than I am, and almost a foot taller than me. So and he played football probably his whole life. And yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you're dedicated to something. I've never been that dedicated to anything in my entire life. So still, I'm man, that guy's making millions of dollars, buku bucks, while I'm what the hell am I doing with my life? God.
Yeah.
It's depressing. But anyways. But yeah, the NFC picture is a lot more interesting to watch. I mean, I don't really care about the AFC because I don't really have many. I don't have teams I root for other than, I root for the Chargers and Texans, but the Texans are doing terrible, and the Chargers are on the upswing. So I'll be glad to see them compete. But yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to get to the Super Bowl or anything.
Yeah, I don't either. It's I like them. I think they can certainly compete, but it's just hard to see them really making it to the Super Bowl
with the injuries they've had. I mean, even just having Jason Verrett go down was really bad for them.
Yeah.
Casey Hayward is great, and he's been life-saving for them, because if he wasn't good, the Chargers would be bad.
Yeah.
And I would just love to see Verrett stay healthy for like one season.
Yeah.
With Casey Hayward, that defense would be great. Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa, what's that linebacker's name? Denzel Perriman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's been really good.
Yeah, he's great. Jaleel Adai at strong safety. Yeah.
Yeah, the team has so much talent.
It's really good.
And look at Keenan Allen now that he's healthy all year.
That's always been the Chargers' issue for the last like 5 years. It's been stay healthy.
Yep.
And they can't do it. So now they are finally mostly healthy, and
you're seeing what they're kind of capable of these last few weeks. They've made their adjustments, on the roster to get the best production they can out of it, and they're making a push for that playoff spot. I think that they're going to beat out the Bills for that playoff spot. I
really don't see how the Chargers could not get into the playoffs at this point with the way that they're playing, but I mean, you never know. It is the Chargers.
Rivers has been on fire. He's ready to make another baby. So he's like, I got testosterone is rising.
Gotta get my ring.
Yep.
Well, speaking of games and schedules and this playoff picture and all that jazz, let's actually talk about the games that are coming up.
Let's get that going.
We already had the Broncos and Colts game that ended tonight. The Broncos won 25-13.
Osweiler making insane throws all over the place.
I mean, the dude had like 30 fantasy points. So
yeah, dude.
Whoa! Oh, I just looked at the stats. C.J. Anderson had 158 rushing yards.
God, that guy
on 30 carries.
Yeah.
And I guess if anyone that didn't watch it, Simeon, I think hurt his. I think it was finger,
wrist or
something. So he had to come out. I think T.Y. Hilton had a similar injury in the game too. So that's why Osweiler was in, and he played well. 12-17, 194, 2 touchdowns. That's what you want. So, albeit against a awful defense. So whatever.
He better be all right against the Colts. He's been a Colt killer, dude, the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Last year when he was with the Texans, they won against the Colts twice.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, I guess I shouldn't say Brock Osweiler won, more like Lamar Miller just annihilated them. But, I mean, yeah, he's a Colt killer, dude.
Either way, I'm going to take the Broncos in that one. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Broncos will win this game from a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
And I think they'll be just fine. Yeah.
Okay. So next game up is the Bears versus the Lions. Lions have no business losing this game, but the Bears have all the business in the world to play spoiler to the playoffs, especially to someone in their division. So look for the Bears to come out in this game with fire, even though they do not have playoff hopes. When you can knock off a division rival and say, "Nuh-uh, no playoffs for you," that's enough fire for a team.
Yeah.
So seriously, look for them to come out ready to go. I think their defense is really going to show up for this game. I do think the Lions are going to win because I think that Matt Stafford is hungry, and even with his, kind of bad hand right now, he still was okay this last week. He really just needs to figure out this turnover situation he's got going on. But
well, the turnover situation is because they have no run game ever.
Yeah.
And it makes it hard because he has to make these risky throws because teams are just playing the pass every game. And so he has to take risks because there's nothing else. There's nothing else he can do. It's either take the risk, throw it into coverage, and hope that your guy is able to bring it down, or throw it away and lose it down.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no run game to back him up. So it's...
And he's not quite as athletic as Russell Wilson and Cam Newton, where you can just say, okay, well, I'm just going to get out of the pocket and then run for 12 yards. He can't do that on every play. He's not as, as mobile and quick as those guys are. So
yeah, he's tough as hell, but he can't, he's not a runner like that for sure.
So
I'll take the Lions as well because I need Matt Stafford to have a good game because Carson Wentz tore his ACL and now I don't have a...
at least you have Stafford as your backup. Jeez.
I know. Good thing I kept him all year, huh?
Yeah. Oh, man.
So, yeah, I hope that he wins. But, yeah, you're right. The Bears, as much as they don't have anything to play for in the, sense that there's no seeding or anything like that they have to look for. They just want to win the game, and play spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Trubisky has shown good development back from. I mean, better development from when he was
at least throwing from the pocket now. Like,
yeah,
better than the beginning of the year
when he was throwing 9 passes the whole game.
Yeah, and throwing every pass was a play action rollout pass. Like,
yeah, and I mean, I'm sure that John Fox like designed it that way so that way he didn't have to stand in the pocket and get hurt or anything before he was ready to figure out the game. But that being said, yeah, I think that the Lions are going to win this game. Although I think it's going to be a close game because the defense for the Lions hasn't been great and their run defense hasn't been very good. So the Bears should be able to run the ball effectively.
Right.
Don't know if they're going to be able to pass the ball effectively. I would assume Darius Slay shuts down whoever he covers.
I'm going to guess it's Dontrell Inman. He's been, I would say, probably the most consistently active wide receiver for the since he's been there.
I thought that Kendall Wright had been.
Kendall Wright is there too,
doing some good games.
It was really just this last week that Kendall Wright had a pretty good game. Before that, it was more Dontrell Inman.
Okay,
so I'm gonna say he's probably more on Inman, but he'll probably just be on both because they don't really have a clear cut number one wide receiver. So yeah, we'll both be going with the Lions there. And then what I think is gonna be really the battle for the AFC West at this point is the Chargers and Chiefs game. Both of them are sitting at 7-6. 2 games actually on Saturday this week.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? I don't know why.
I don't know why they're doing that either. But either way, there's 2 games on Saturday, and this is one of them. So the Chiefs finally got a win again.
You were right, though. You said that their offense got back on track against the Jets, and that this game against the Raiders should have been the game they get back on track. And you were right. They got back on track. A lot of that
came from reestablishing the run game, getting Kareem Hunt over 100 yards, getting him a touchdown, getting the run game back.
They're freaking better against the Raiders.
Yeah, you'd hope. That's why I was saying last week, like this is the game that they need to reestablish it, because if they don't, they're done.
Yep.
And so now you come in now with the Chargers, who are much better now than they were the last time they went against the Chiefs. But the last time they played the Chiefs Kareem Hunt put up, I think it was like 170 something yards of rushing against the Chargers. And now it's kind of flipped where now the Chargers are better defensively than they were back then, and the Chiefs aren't as good on offense as they were back then. But is it really that long ago? Like
for season wise, yeah, it's crazy how things change so quickly
week to week,
week to week. Yeah, I mean, the first 5 weeks of the season, the Chiefs looked unstoppable. Yeah. They looked like they were going to go undefeated and waste on everyone this year. And they have shown a lot of vulnerability this year. As it's gone on, teams have been exposing them week by week, and other teams are taking notice and doing a lot of the same things to slow them down. And it comes down to the talent. I mean, they still only won by 10 points against the Raiders, who have arguably the worst defense in the league right now. Whereas the Chargers are significantly better on defense. So, a lot more talent, a lot better coached. Gus Bradley has done wonders for that defense. I would expect them. I think the Chargers are going to win this game. Philip Rivers has been on fire. Keenan Allen has been unstoppable. There's still Melvin Gordon and the threat of a good run game against the Chiefs, who have not been good on defense these past few weeks.
I mean, they do get Marcus Peters back this week, though, so that does help as far as with the Keenan Allen situation. But that defense, even with Marcus Peters in there, has been pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I do agree that I do think the Chargers are going to win this game, but I really do think that's dependent on whether the Chiefs can keep their run game going, because that's kind of how you have to beat the Chargers right now, because of the lack of real offensive, really any passing game against the Chargers right now. You have to have a running game.
Yep.
And it's the same situation with the Jaguars, only the Jaguars defense is kind of on their own level right now.
Yes. But yes, you're right. They're great pass rushing team, but not so great against the run.
Right. So we'll see what happens with that. I do think the Chargers end up pulling this one out, but we'll see if this one game win the Chiefs got against the Raiders really sparks them back into what they were doing at the beginning of the year. So next game up, the Dolphins and Bills. This should be a game in another blizzard-like situation, or at least there's supposed to be a lot of snow again in this game. So
it's New York this time of year.
Yeah. So I want to pick the Dolphins, but the Bills are just more accustomed to that weather, and that's kind of where I'm
sure Tyrod Taylor is going to be out again, though.
Yeah, but even if he is, like,
I think Miami has a couple of good running backs. Kenyon Drake has been really awesome, actually.
Yeah, he's been good.
And Damian Williams isn't bad either.
But he's been injured, though. So
yeah, but I could have sworn that he was supposed to be coming back soon. I don't know if he's supposed to be coming back this week or not, but either way, luckily the Dolphins don't really rely on long passes, right, deep ball to move the ball down the field. They rely on short yardage plays over and over and over and over again. And I think that they're talent wise, I think that they're much better than the Bills are. And I think that the Dolphins are going to win this game.
Yeah, I'd say, with talent alone, they should.
Yeah.
It really is just the weather for me. It's the fact that the Bills are more accustomed, and you have LaShawn McCoy, who's like the GOAT cold weather runner. So, like, it really could go either way. It's not like the Dolphins are like elite on defense. So
I wonder what it is about LaShawn McCoy that makes him so good in the snow. Like, is it his just like lateral ability, or I don't know. I'd have to like watch some film or something, but it just seems like nobody can stop him in the snow.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. I'm kind of the same way. I'm kind of curious why that is, but
I think he's just got better agility than most guys anyways. And when you're on defense in the snow and you try to like backpedal or change direction quickly, it's not going to happen very easily. And they're reacting instead of, LaShawn McCoy is attacking. He knows what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills the defensive players don't know exactly what's going to happen. And so unless they're right there to make the tackle, I think he just evades them easier because they're slowed down so much.
Right. Assuming that the Dolphins have practiced this week, playing in some sort of similar slick condition, right? Because that's kind of what teams will do.
Well, did they go back to Miami? I would assume. I would assume they would just stay in Foxborough.
It's possible. I'm not sure if they went back or not, but if they have made an effort to practice with slick conditions, I would say Miami wins this game.
Oh, I'm sorry. They were already in Miami. They played in Miami, so they probably stayed there. But I was gonna say they should go to Buffalo and practice somewhere there. Just to get that, practice at Syracuse University or something. I don't freaking know. It's not like they're doing anything. Their season's over. But
yeah.
Any Hoosers. Next. What's next on the list there?
So next game up is going to be the Ravens and Browns. I guess I should say I'm taking the Dolphins in that one. Ravens and Browns. It's kind of easy to pick the Ravens in this one because the Browns are bad.
Well, yeah, they haven't won a game yet.
So if any team is going to lose to them, I don't think it would be the Ravens. But
well, they're without. We talked about this last week. Their number one corner is down.
Right.
Browns have Josh Gordon back.
Right. Josh Gordon.
Oh, here it is. I hear it already.
Yep.
Illuminati. Yeah. Anyways, I would guess that the Browns are able to at least move the ball. I mean, they almost won against the Packers. They just melted down like every Hugh Jackson.
Hugh Jackman.
I said Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackson's teams always, fall apart at the end of the games. Stop laughing at me. But
I'm just imagining Wolverine coaching the Browns now.
Probably be better than Hugh Jackson. That guy's garbage.
You just said Hugh Jackman again.
I said Hugh Jackson.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you said Jackman.
No. Didn't do it. Okay, anyways, but I don't know. Yeah, I think that the Ravens are. I'm gonna pick the Ravens to win. I'm not gonna pick the Browns as much as I want them to win.
I'm gonna pick the Browns. I think this is the week.
You think they're finally gonna get a win, huh?
Because they're playing spoiler. It's a similar situation with the Bears. They're playing spoiler. They're like, look, man, we're 0-13. They have nothing to lose. Like,
except another game.
but like, it's like, whatever, man, let's play against the Ravens. Let's try to just knock them out of the playoffs, and just like, because they know they're not going to play spoiler to the Steelers,
right?
Like, they know they're not going to be able to pull that off.
That would be so amazing.
That would be great.
But there's no way they're going to be able to stop Bell and Brown.
I mean, it's just, it's not going to happen. So this is their opportunity against the Ravens to play spoiler and just get that one win like they did last year, and just like, because it would kind of be revenge for 2015 when they were about to beat the Ravens with a field goal, and then what was his name, something Hill or something, their safety picked it up after they blocked the field goal and returned it for a touchdown to end the game. You remember that?
No.
It was in 2015. It was like,
I don't know.
Everyone was like, "Oh my God, the Browns are finally going to win a game!" And then they blocked it and they returned it for a touchdown and won. So
wow,
yeah, they got
it's the most Brownsiest Browns thing ever.
So I'm going to pick the Browns in this one because of Josh Gordon.
Yeah, dude. Did you see Josh Gordon talking smack to Demarius Randall on Twitter?
Yeah.
And then Demarius Randall was like, "You must be on that again." Like, it's like, ooh, good comeback, man. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Gordon wasn't lying. Demarius Randall wasn't even on Josh Gordon that much in the game, so
no, they were playing zone most of the game anyways, so most of his catches came in zone.
Yeah,
but it's whatever. It was still like Josh Gordon's not really in any position right now to be talking smack, but
or like throwing his team under the bus at all. Like,
but I mean, it's not like he's not lying.
Yeah, he's not lying.
He just said, considering shortcomings of this team, like, I still burned the hell out of them. Like, A, it's completely true. He did burn the hell out of them. B, there is a shortcoming. His name is Deshaun Kaiser. And if he was just even any better, that Josh Gordon would be putting up monster stats. And yeah, I mean, Demarius Randall's not great. So
yeah, Demarius Randall would shut up.
Yeah. That's hilarious as his comeback was, though.
It was great comeback, good. But you're not that good. So
God, we're training like ESPN now. Like, you see the tweets that they have, like, social media, whatever.
No, if we were ESPN, we'd start throwing in politics.
We would like come up with these wacky, crazy ways to predict games. Like, and so if you connect this dot to this dot, and then this dot to this dot,
and ask a child for their prediction, and next to a dog in a fish tank.
And then you get the Illuminati winning the blah, blah, blah because the Browns are blah. It's just they're any Hoosers.
Any Hoosers. Okay, so I'm going with the Browns. You're going with the Ravens. That's it. Done. All right. Next game, Bengals and Vikings. Going with the Vikings. Not really. Look, Bengals were terrible against Chicago last week. Not picking them against the Vikings. So Vikings should win this game pretty handily. Next game, Jets and Saints. Again, Jets are without the truth, and that's really what was carrying them, and they don't have anyone. It's weird to say they don't have anyone as good as Josh McCown on that team, but they don't. So
yeah, it's funny that I wasn't it just last year that the Jets were like, we really want to see what Christian Hackenberg can do with a whole year to develop and blah, 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 all this stuff. And they're still starting Bryce Petty because Hackenberg is garbage.
Yeah, Hackenberg's really bad.
So bad.
That's why McCown has been starting, and that's why Bryce Petty is starting, because Hackenberg is just that bad.
And Petty is garbage too. I mean, that
Petty's
says
not
something.
good. Petty is check down supreme burrito.
Yeah.
So
and a burrito supreme.
I'm not gonna say it because I made that joke last week. So
chicken supreme.
We're both taking the Saints easily in this one.
Supremely easily.
Supremely easily. Next game, Eagles and Giants. Again, would be super crazy easy to predict with Carson Wentz. You have to at least give the Giants a moment of thought in this one, because now it is Nick Foles, and we don't know if Nick Foles will be good. We're assuming, based on his resume, that he will be all right and win this game, no problem. But you never know.
You never know.
You never know with backup quarterbacks. So I'm gonna pick the Eagles just because I think the run game will be fine. So they should win this game without really any problem. And then a game against with another two teams really out of the playoffs at this point, Cardinals and Redskins. It's weird to think that the Cardinals have a better record than the Redskins, but
Cardinals just kind of like suck, and the Redskins have just gotten like I think their IR team is better than their like team right now. Minus Kirk Cousins, obviously, but like seriously, their whole team is on IR essentially. They half their starters,
a lot of injuries.
Practically their whole offensive line.
Yeah.
Terrell Pryor, who they wanted to try to get going.
Right.
A lot
Jordan
of their
Reed.
Jordan Reed perpetually on IR. Like it's too bad, but it's okay because Cousins. I first of all, I really don't like the Redskins organization. They're terrible.
Yeah, I agree.
It's fine because Kirk Cousins. I don't think this affected him at all. In fact, I was actually reading some stats saying that this year he's actually been playing better than he was last year, and he's been doing it with Jamison Crowder and Josh Doxson and like
Vernon Davis.
Yeah.
At like 33 years old or whatever.
Barely any running game. Like,
yeah. Really, the running game has been pretty bad.
Yeah, and they lost Chris Thompson, who was like their spark out of the backfield.
Right.
And now it's just P. Ryan, and they signed Capri Bibbs because
Byron Marshall went on IR.
Yeah, and they didn't want P. Ryan to be the only running back on roster. So they were like, okay, Capri Bibbs, you played so good at Colorado State with Garrett Grayson. Come play for us.
Yeah. And by play, we mean seriously do like 2 snaps just to let P. Ryan breathe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
I'm going to pick the Cardinals.
I have more faith in Blaine Gabbert than most people. So I will also pick the Cardinals in this one. Even though Kirk Cousins is the better quarterback, their team is just so injured. It's just, I really do think the Cardinals have a better shot, even with Adrian Peterson going on IR.
Well, Kerwin Williams played all right last week?
Yeah. And the last 2 weeks.
Last 2 weeks he's played all right, and
it's about what you'd expect. So,
defense for the well, yeah. I mean, like you're saying, you have more faith in Blaine Gabbert. He's not that bad when he isn't under constant pressure,
right?
And
the offensive line is terrible. They have the worst offensive line, ranked offensive
Cardinals?
line. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the Redskins also don't really have that much of a defensive line right now either. So I would.
Well, Ryan Kerrigan's still healthy,
right?
So
and that's it.
That's
so,
it.
I mean, that might be all they need.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think he's going to be getting pressured that much. They should be able to move the ball, right?
Yeah, they should be all right. So I'll pick the Cardinals too. I think they'll be all right.
Sure.
And then the Packers versus Panthers. I will pick the Packers. No questions asked.
Yeah, especially with Rodgers back. I mean, it hasn't been confirmed that he will play absolutely for sure.
It's been confirmed.
I think that Aaron Rodgers really wants to play, but I don't know if they're gonna have him play just yet. I
think he's gonna play. From what I saw, I think he's gonna play.
If he plays, the Panthers stand no chance because their secondary is garbage. If he doesn't play, I would expect the Panthers to win because their offense has been decent, and especially going against a Green Bay defense that like sucks. You
never know with Cam Newton. if Green Bay can stop the rush, I mean, you're relying on Cam Newton. I mean, the Panthers won this last week, but a lot of that was just because of their run game. Like Cam Newton really did more damage on the ground than he really did through the air. His passing game was like, I think he threw for like 170 yards and like a pick. Like, it's terrible.
Yeah, but you don't have to do much when your running game was as effective as it was.
Right. So that's really what it comes down to for the Panthers.
And they're playing the Vikings, who have such a better secondary than Green Bay.
Right.
Like, and he's still able to throw a touchdown. So, I mean, if he was able to do that against Minnesota, I would expect him to be able to annihilate the Packers, especially because the Packers, it's like Capers doesn't realize that quarterbacks can run ever. Their biggest weakness is mobile quarterbacks. The Packers cannot defend them to save their life. I mean, I know it was a couple years ago, but Kaepernick in the playoffs,
2013.
Yeah, ran for like, what was it, 200 something yards or something like that against them. And Cam Newton is much in the same thing. And I would expect them to be able to put up a pretty good fight. You know, I said a minute ago that they stand no chance with Aaron Rodgers, but I think they could. Because,
they stand a chance.
Yeah, because Green Bay's secondary and, its whole defense is just not good. I think they have a chance to continue to score points with the Packers, as long as they can keep up with them. But Rodgers back, Green Bay. Rodgers out, Panthers.
Yep. I think even with Brett Hundley, he's been playing better, and they've really started to establish a balance between running and passing. So they do still stand a chance with Brett Hundley at quarterback, but their chances are certainly much better with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. So I'm gonna pick the Packers, like I said.
Yeah, dude.
Next game, Texans and Jaguars. Look, Deshaun Watson, believe it or not, still injured. So when Tom Savage, has pretty much a literal seizure in last week's game.
Terrible.
In the fact that they've still made him go out there was nonsense. But like, when that happens,
that was worse than that Russell Wilson hit.
Yeah, that was bad. Like, oh god.
Yeah, that was kind of gut wrenching to watch.
Yeah.
Like him.
I was like, oh my god, why is he out there? Like, it's so terrible. Felt bad for the guy. But
well, I mean, okay, so I understand it looks super bad and it's like bad on the coaching staff to let him back in there. But I guarantee you he was doing nothing on the sidelines but saying, I'm good to go. I'm good to go. I'm good to go. Let me stay in. Because he knows that, one, he's not that great of quarterback. He's going to be pretty much a career backup.
Yeah.
This is he's starting right now. This is his chance. He's living his dream. I mean, if you were living your dream job and got injured doing it, you would want to keep going as much as you could. Especially in that moment with all the adrenaline, self-preservation was not on his mind.
Right.
All he was thinking about was keeping his job.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, TJ Yates outplayed him, pretty easily through a couple of touchdowns as he came in. So,
but all things considered, TJ Yates is not going to have much more success against the Jaguars than Russell Wilson did last week. So,
no. But
the Jaguars should win this game handily.
Oh yeah, they're gonna,
especially with the bad defense that the Texans have. It's
Jadeveon Clowney and no one else.
Yeah, because everyone else is injured.
Although they are getting Brian Cushing back.
Oh yeah, they'll have a linebacker to cover all those receivers.
Oh yeah, linebacker. But now he's not on steroids anymore.
Yeah.
So who knows? If he'll be any good.
Jaguars they're gonna roll pretty hard in this one, I think. So I think we're both taking Jaguars pretty easily in that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably the two games of the weeks here. The games of the week.
Games of the weeks.
First up is the Rams and Seahawks. This is actually pretty big for the playoff picture because if the Seahawks win this game, then they win the tiebreaker against the Rams because they would win 2-0 in that series between the two. which means that I think no matter what, they would
win the division.
Yeah, wouldn't they win the division either way?
Let me look at the division standings. I think you're correct, but let me just make sure here.
I'm not entirely sure how that works.
Yeah, so the Rams are 9-4 and Seattle is 8-5. How do I see what the division things are? I think you're right, because the division is based, the winning the division is based on your division record. So like that's why Seattle was able to make the playoffs in 2011, wasn't it? Or it was 2010.
2010, 2011, yeah.
With the Beastquake, because they won the division at, what was it, like
7-9.
7-9.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous. but that's how they're able to, even get into the playoffs anyways, is because they won the division at least. So
right.
if they are able to beat the Rams, they'll go 2-0 against them. They'll have gone 2-0 against the Niners, I think. Oh, I think they
yes. They beat the Niners both times.
And I think they have split with the Cardinals, right? Or they still play the Cardinals later this year.
Yeah, I think it's the last week of the season they play them again.
Either way, so we need to win this game, or the Rams need to lose another game somewhere else, another division game. That's and then we would probably be tied with them for the division.
Either way. In short, I'm pretty sure if Seattle wins this game, they win the division.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
But I'm not 100% sure. Either way, this game is huge.
Yeah.
This game is really huge for both teams. And I think the biggest thing for the Rams is the fact that their starting corner across from Tremaine Johnson just got placed on IR, which puts them in a situation where they have to start Troy Hill, a former Oregon Duck who really shouldn't be in the NFL.
Based on what he did in college,
but he's not really an NFL player, and he kind of showed that last year. So, I would really like to see Seattle just kind of, as much as it would hurt as a Ducks fan, like Seattle really should be picking on him a lot in this game. And
knowing Darrell Bevell, they're going to leave him alone all game and just attack Tremaine Johnson and try to run up the middle.
They're going to throw fade routes to Doug Baldwin deep down the field.
Oh, yeah. That's
like they did last week against Jacksonville.
Maybe if he was like 5 inches taller.
Yeah, or not going against Jalen freaking Ramsey. God.
Yeah, dude. Or even
still mad about that.
AJ Bowie or Boye, or they were saying it weird. I don't remember how they were saying it.
Dude, announcers never know how to pronounce names.
It's
Mariota.
Like Mariota.
Yeah, so really, this game
says
is
the guy
really
who
gonna...
says Jameis Winston.
Yes, I say Jameis Winston because it's funnier. But
whatever.
Seriously, with this game, a lot of it's just going to come down to the fact that Seattle is not the same defensively as the last time they went against the Rams. However, Seattle is at home, so that really, really helps Seattle.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Jared Goff, as great as he's been playing this year, he's really not doing any of the mental work.
Right.
He has, he's got a microphone up in his helmet that McVay is just making all of his reads for him, essentially, and telling him, look at this guy. If he's not there, look at this guy. And if that's not there, get out of the pocket and throw it away. Like,
yeah,
Seattle at home, between the seconds on the play clock between 40 and 15, that's when the crowd needs to be the loudest. I don't know if there's any Seahawks fans listening right now. I don't know who all is listening right now. I don't even know where our views come from. But like, make it known between 40 and 15 seconds on the play clock. That's when you need to be the loudest, because that's when McVay is relaying information to Jared Goff that's when they're making all of their adjustments. They're making their reads. They're seeing who the personnel is on the field. If the fans can disrupt that, it's going to make it a lot easier on Seattle's defense because Jared Goff he's got good arm talent, but up in his head, I mean,
he still has work to do. He's young, you know?
Yeah. And man, that Hard Knocks thing was definitely didn't make him look any good because he didn't even know like which direction the sun rise and like all sorts of crap, dude. So probably thinks the world's flat. I don't know.
Him and Kyrie are best friends.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I really do think this all just comes down to Jared Goff in the end. You know, there's injuries on both teams defensively and just kind of in general. Like it really is just going to come down to, can Jared Goff hang playing at Seattle? Because I mean, look at like the Eagles couldn't do it, you know, like it's hard to see the Rams doing it with a less talented quarterback. I don't know. I think Seattle really wins this game solely just because they are at home and really are hungry for that win. They really need this.
I think it's going to look similar to that Eagles game.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you said that, you know, they don't have as good of a quarterback, but I mean, they played Carson Wentz and Jared Goff have played similarly this year. They have similar statistics. Goff has less touchdowns, of course, but I would also argue that Wentz had more talent around him. I mean, the best receiver for the Rams is between who? Robert Woods or Sammy Watkins?
Robert Woods, Sammy Watkins, Cooper Kupp is a great trio of receivers to have, and especially the fact that Robert Woods was balling.
Yeah, but how much of that is due to scheme?
But that's the thing is like in that scheme, he's killing it. And, you know, he's supposed to come back this week, so...
That does not bode well for us.
No.
But either way, I mean, I feel like the Eagles have a lot more to work with than Jared Goff does with the Rams. I think that the trio of Zach Ertz, Alshon Jeffrey, and Nelson Aguilar are better than...
They certainly have more experience on that team.
Yeah, Jeffrey is definitely like... better than any of the receivers on either of those teams. But either way, I mean, all I'm trying to say is that I think Carson Wentz is getting a similar treatment to what Goff is getting, where he's getting reads put through his microphone or put through his speaker in his helmet, telling him, okay, this is what the defense is running. Look for this guy and this guy, instead of making the reads for himself. And then luckily, he's more athletic than Jared Goff, so he gets out of the pocket and makes those plays.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a reason why the Eagles struggled in Seattle, was because the crowd noise is insane. Carson Wentz doesn't get the same help that he normally gets in every game. I think it's going to be the same for Goff. I don't think that he's going to get the same help that he normally gets, and yeah, he's going to struggle to get the ball where it needs to be, see the field.
Yeah, I agree, and I really do believe that Seattle should win this game. So
yeah, well, I'll pick Seattle. I always pick Seattle. Gotta pick it.
Yeah, and then the next game, like I was saying, like 2 games of the week here, Patriots and Steelers is a really big one because if the Patriots win this one, then they tie the Steelers for the top record in the AFC. If the Steelers win, they pretty much have the top seed locked down for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So
yeah, unless they have a catastrophic breakdown the rest of the year,
right? And
the last couple
shouldn't happen.
No.
So,
who are you going with?
I believe the Patriots will win this game.
Okay,
because the Steelers have been slumping pretty hard on defense, and Tom Brady already can pick apart basically any defense. They have Gronkowski back this week, which is huge. And
yeah, now they don't have a guy like Shazier who can actually cover him.
Right. That's kind of the big thing, is now all of a sudden Gronk has this great matchup against backup linebackers or smaller corners, which never goes
smaller
well.
Safeties, whatever.
Yeah. So I really do believe that the Patriots should win this game. And I mean, it's going to be a good game.
Hopefully.
I mean, it could go either way. I mean, the Steelers have been really good, but the Steelers tend to struggle against the Patriots, and that doesn't really help them in this situation. So I'm looking at the Patriots in this one. I don't know about you, but
I'm gonna go with the Steelers actually, because although the teams are going in different directions defensively, the Steelers have been sliding, Patriots have been getting a little better. I think the Steelers offense is better than the Patriots offense. I mean, they have two of the best players at their positions in the NFL right now. Antonio Brown playing out of his freaking mind.
Right.
And then Le'Veon Bell to, smash defenses all game. I mean, it's just so hard to game plan against these guys.
Right.
Bill Belichick is known to take away the best offensive weapon and then hopefully, contain the rest of the guys. Unfortunately, it's kind of a pick your poison with Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to stop Antonio Brown, first off, I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah.
I think that Belichick is going to do everything he can to stop Le'Veon Bell, because if they can keep the Steelers from running the ball, it's going to be harder for them to move the ball down the field. However, Martavis Bryant has looked better the last couple weeks. He's actually been catching what's thrown to him, getting separation, making good plays. I think that the Steelers offense is just going to be too much for the Patriots to handle.
And with Juju back,
and Juju's back. There's just way too many options with the Steelers, whereas the Patriots pretty much just have Gronk as their number one dude, and then Brandon Cooks here and there is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And when him and Brady are in sync, they're great. They're a great combo, but they haven't really been in sync consistently this year.
Right.
So, and while the Patriots have had a decent running game the last few weeks with Deion Lewis between the 20s and then Rex Burkhead in the red zone, have been working really well for them. The Steelers, although they lost Shazier, their defensive line is still good. They still have a strong defensive line. They should be able to limit big plays in the run game. All they have to worry about is Tom Brady moving the ball down the field. If they can at least limit that, I think the Steelers are going to win this game. There's just too many options on that offense for the Patriots to really stop.
Right. Yeah, I
could go either way though. I mean, you never know. Can't count the Patriots out of any game.
Right. That's kind of where I'm at with it, where it's just like historically Pittsburgh struggles with them, so it's just I think the Patriots pull this one out and tie it up in the AFC. Next game up, Titans and 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo is 2-0 so far with the Niners, and the Tennessee Titans have been pretty bad kind of on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
So this really could go in San Francisco's favor. I want to say that Tennessee should be able to bounce back this week simply because the 49ers are not good on defense, and the running game for the Titans should really finally pick up in this game and bounce back. So I'm going to say Tennessee wins this one, but it's not going to be like a blowout. I really do think it's going to be a close game.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think just like after the Chiefs lost to the Jets, you said, this game against the Raiders will help them get back on track. I think this is a game that Tennessee needs to win this game to get back on track. They're still right there in the playoff picture. Yep. They've won 8 games this year. They've dropped some bad games that the last couple of weeks they've looked really bad on offense. We were talking about Mariota being injured. They need to be able to keep up with the Niners though, because on offense the Niners are they've been getting better. Obviously Garoppolo is the better option than Beathard. They have shown a lot of playmaking ability since then. Trent Taylor has turned into a really good slot guy who can move the chains pretty effectively. Marquise Goodwin has increased his development substantially. It's been actually really awesome to watch.
It's been cool.
I really like that guy. He's a good dude. He's gone through a lot this year. I think he just lost his dad as well. So like,
it's been a lot for that guy.
He's gone through so much this year, and I guess what I think it was Shanahan that was saying that other teams. He talked to Goodwin, who said that other teams haven't really tried to develop him. They've brought him in to do one thing, which is be really fast and run down the field.
Yeah,
and Shanahan has told him, no, that's not what's going to happen here. You're going to learn these routes. You're going to learn how to run them, and you're going to be good. You're going to become a good receiver. And look at how he's been with a good quarterback. Even with Beathard, he had a couple of good games. So, I think that Tennessee can win this game and definitely should. But I wouldn't be surprised if they just fall apart. They're really trending in the wrong direction. I don't know. It's hard because I want to pick the Niners, honestly. I the way they've been playing, I want to pick the Niners, but the Titans, they need this one.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Is they really do need to just get a win here, get back on track, and I just don't think San Francisco's defense can contain really anyone at this point. So.
Really hope this doesn't turn to a Derrick Henry game. God, please.
Yeah, so I'm going to take the Titans.
Okay, I'll take the Titans as well, but I kind of want to see the Niners pull it off.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Last two games here, Cowboys and Raiders. Cowboys are 7-6, Raiders are 6-7. Raiders are basically out of the playoffs at this point. I really don't see them making it.
They'd have to win out, I think.
Yeah, and even then, I think they need some losses.
Yeah, they would need some teams. They need some losses from the Chargers and from the Chiefs to really even get to sniff the playoffs.
Yeah,
so they're not eliminated completely. I mean, crap. The Broncos just got eliminated last week, right. So if they just got eliminated with 3 wins,
yeah,
I mean, there is a scenario I'm sure that the Raiders can still get in it, but they would need a lot of favors.
Either way, playing against the Cowboys.
Are they in Dallas?
It doesn't say.
Well,
I just have the fantasy app open for this week's matchups. So
yeah, so the top team is the away team and the bottom team is the home team.
So then they are home. So, Dak had a good game last week.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, Dak. Way to go, buddy. Albeit against a bad team. So,
well, Raiders aren't much better.
Raiders aren't much better,
especially on defense.
But they're still better. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to
say
Raiders. I think the Raiders can do this. They have Michael Crabtree. They have Marshawn Lynch has been looking better later in the season, and they're starting to get Jared Cook more involved too.
He's their leading receiver.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really a game I plan on watching.
No.
Other than
it's on Sunday Night Football.
Other than just like for fantasy purposes, I don't think I have any players from either team, but still,
I have Lynch in another league.
I'm gonna just pay attention anyways. But either way, I'm gonna pick the Cowboys because I think their team overall is more solid than the Raiders. However, they are very similar. Good offensive lines, decent enough offenses, and bad defenses. But the Cowboys defense has been better than the Raiders. I mean, pretty much every team in the league has been better on defense than the Raiders. But
I mean, these are really two of like the bad defenses, but the Cowboys do have Sean Lee, and they're always better on defense with Sean Lee. So,
oh, he's back?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He played last week. So,
I didn't even notice. I didn't really pay attention. But yeah, then I'm definitely picking the Cowboys. With Sean Lee back, that defense, it's night and day.
Yeah.
So I'll pick
I'm still going with the Raiders. So okay. That's just me. And then last game of the week on Monday Night Football, oh boy, the Falcons and Buccaneers. And the last time they played, Julio Jones had almost 300 yards. He had 253 on 11 receptions. So I
I think I'm going to take the Falcons.
Very easily picking the Falcons in this one without a question. So
you know that Julio's going to have like 4 catches for 40 yards, and then like Sanu's going to have over 100 yards, and Devontae Freeman's going to have like 150 rushing yards, and they're just going to sell out to try to stop Julio, and then the rest of the team's going to run wild on him. That's how it always goes. That's like epitome of Julio.
Or they're going to sell out and try to stop him, realize that they can't, and just say, you know what? Our season's already over. So who cares?
Let's just blitz all game.
Yeah, just whatever. So
yeah.
That wraps up predictions and the podcast for the week.
Yeah, this one went a little longer. We had a little bit, I feel like we had a little more talking.
There was just more to discuss. We're getting closer to the end of the season. A lot of stuff going on in the league right now. So if you stuck around this long to the hour and 45 minute mark and 30 something seconds, congratulations.
Hello, me from the future.
Hello, probably not me from the future. We'll see if I go all the way this far editing.
Maybe if I drop some more words that you don't like, you'll have to come back and listen to it.
Yeah. So, that's it for this year. That's it for this year. That's it. That's it for this week. Tune in next week when we talk about football again, and probably
no way.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
We're gonna talk about football again.
Yeah. It's gonna be a good week of football, and next week's podcast. Oh my god,
Postcad.
2 hours later of talking. Next week's podcast should be pretty good. There should be a lot to talk about again. So look forward to our analysis on all these big time scenarios. So
yep, sounds good. Thanks for watching the Philbrook Football Podcast, and we will see you next week
on the Philbrook Football Podcast.
Philbrook Football Podcast. It's always gonna end with the podcast.
Josh Gordon.
You should try to line it up with my thing, because I did that. Just try to line it up with that. Oh, does it keep going?
That's like pretty much the exact speed it goes, because I've used it 80 times.
Why don't you use like a different thing?
Because that's the only thing.
There's got to be more like sound bites you can get.
Not really.